are the top 10 programs in college football right now as we go into the 2026 season. Now, notice I said programs and not teams. This is not my projected top 10 going into the year, though it's going to be pretty close. But this is program. This is the organizational structure of a school and their entire football program. This is going to lean heavily towards head coaches, coordinators, and then recruiting efforts and success over the last handful of years, as well as on-field success over the last few years. So the metrics that I'm using are past 3 years of success rates / win rates. Recent changes to organizational structure can have an effect on these teams or where the programs are going to be ranked in this list. And then lastly, my opinion is going to be baked in there on what I've seen on the field and what I have seen year after year from these teams, where they are strong, where I feel that they lack. So getting right into it, number 10, we have Texas Tech. Texas Tech over the last 3 years has won 27 games. That ties them 16th in college football over the last 3 years. I think Joey McGuire is a really good head coach, and obviously he's got a great thing going at their program. They have a ton of money. They are able to essentially get most of the players in there that they really want to, and they have the benefit of being in the Big 12 Conference, which, as we know, is not going to be the... how do I say this? It's not going to be the most competitive conference at the high end. And so Texas Tech can stand head and shoulders above everybody else because they have the ability to spend, they have the resources, they have the facilities that players want to come in and they want to play for them. So they have that going for them. I think close to every year you can expect them to win the Big 12 championship or at least compete for it and earn a playoff spot. What I think really hindered them very recently, as everybody has been talking about, is the Brendan Sorsby situation. What I think that did is just hurt the perception of Texas Tech over the next couple of years. I think some players might be a little bit more wary of going there. Granted, they may not. They may see how Texas Tech and Cody Campbell stood 10 toes down behind Brendan Sorsby until things got a little bit too hard for them, to be honest. And they may see how they stood 10 toes down for him, and they may say, that's my team, that's who I want to go play for. Or they may just say, hey, I don't even want to put my name on Texas Tech right now. They've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. We've got conferences and teams still figuring out if we actually want to even play them in the first place over these next couple of years, if we want to schedule them. So I think that situation hurt them. And the other part where it hurt them is I think Will Hammond coming in, he did a good job last year. He did great during the regular season. Obviously, it seems like Joey McGuire knew that they were a quarterback away, and so he goes out and gets Sorsby, and now they're at the same situation in quarterback again. So coming into this year, I don't think it's going to be super promising for a long run into the playoffs, but in the future, I think that they could find themselves being dangerous later in the season if they can put it all together and obviously get a quarterback on the field. At number 9 in the top 10 programs right now list, we have Alabama. And this one may be shocking to some how low it is. Here's my reasoning why. Alabama's won 32 games over the last 3 years. That ranks them 7th overall on the list, so a little bit higher than the 9th place that I put them in. But here's why they dropped down and were even close to being outside of my top 10. Kalen DeBoer, over the last 2 years, because he's only been there for 2 years, has only won 20 of those 32 games. So the year before, Saban wins 12. DeBoer, over the last 2 years, goes 20-8 in total, is his record. They're still bringing in talent. They're still winning big-time football games whenever it comes to competing against really good teams in the SEC and beyond. They can go out there and they can put on a good performance, and they've been fairly consistent in being able to do that. The problem is when they have talent that's high above their level, or at their level, let's call it, or very far below their level, they have the inability to play up to their competition, and they have seemingly the weakly ability to play down to their competition. So I think it really seems like that Alabama edge just isn't there anymore. When Nick Saban was there, they were going in every Saturday and they were putting the fear of God into you and into the guy who was lining up across from him. The entire week, watching their film, you'd have to worry about the guy that you're lining up across from, but it seems like teams just don't look at them that way anymore. I think you're playing more the logo on the helmet than you are the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the logo on the helmet's what puts the fear in you still, because we know what Saban was able to do there. But the actual player across from you, the team across from you, they're not as nasty. They're not as hard-nosed as they once were. The things that stand out to me here are the losses. And not only who you lost to, but how bad you lost in some situations. So last year, we've got the losses to FSU to start the year. We've got that loss to Oklahoma in which they were down for the count in the first half or the first 2 to 3 quarters. And then they come back and they try to make a push. They still can't figure that out, or they still can't figure out how to win that game and get those final scores in. And then at the end of the year, SEC championship game, they get crushed by Georgia. The next game, first round of the playoffs, they get crushed by Indiana. And I don't mean they lost by a touchdown or 2. They got absolutely slaughtered in both of those games. The year before, I think about losing to a Vanderbilt team that they shouldn't have lost to. All of it comes together and just shows me that they're not as consistent as they need to be. Now we're on year 3 of Kalen DeBoer. This is his chance. He's got both of his quarterbacks in there, in Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, both his guys that he recruited and he brought in. So how does that translate whenever the last time he had a quarterback that he brought in, it was Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, and we all know how that ended up with him going to a national championship with him. I really want to see more consistency out of Alabama and a higher level of consistent play if I'm going to be moving them back up this list. At number 8, we have Texas. Again, probably one that people think is low on this list, and I fully understand that. Let me again go into why I think this way. Texas, 35 wins over the last 3 years. That ranks them 4th on this list in total. Where I struggle with Texas is every single year around this time of year, I'm watching videos, I'm watching YouTube, I'm looking at all of these personalities, reading articles saying that Texas this year is going to be the best roster that Steve Sarkisian has ever had. The best roster that Texas may have ever had. And that happened 3 years ago, and it happened last year with Arch Manning as essentially a first-time starter, and it's happening again this year. And I feel every year they are not playing up to their expectations, and specifically, they're just not peaking at the right times. They have games where they play really good football. They have games where they play down to their competition and they don't meet their standard. I don't know if over the last 3 years I've seen Texas play their perfect football game against a good opponent. And when that is the case, I don't have the trust in that staff or in that program, in that organization, to put their best foot forward, or their best game on the field, put their best foot forward when they're playing the best teams. And because of that, I don't think that they're going to make it far and win much beyond good regular season games and maybe a couple of first-round playoff games, second-round playoff games where they're playing inferior competition. Steve Sarkisian, I think, is a really good coach, and I think he's a great offensive mind. And once we get defense all sorted out, which over the last couple of years their defense has been good, they just haven't been able to figure out. Last year, Arch Manning needed to learn how to be a starter, and that's okay. You need to give him time. This year, I still have some high hopes for them because I think Arch Manning can be really good. Like, really, really good. He's just got to figure that out. And so this year, I think, is the prove-it year for Steve Sarkisian. You see him on a lot of hot seat lists. This is why. This is the year that he needs to get it all done and put it all together and make a deep, deep run in the playoffs, if not compete for a national championship. Or else I think the Texas fans are going to start to turn on him a little bit more. He needs to earn my trust back, at very least, and probably theirs as well because they have higher standards than I do for their program. At number 7, we've got LSU. This one is probably going to be the most shocking one so far, I would guess. 26 wins over the last 3 years, which is quite a bit lower than the previous two. That puts them tied at 19th on this list. They actually tied with BYU in wins over the last 3 years, which as an LSU fan is just pathetic. You need to be able to win more games than that. The reason I have them up at 7 is not because I'm an LSU homer. It's because Lane Kiffin is in there now as the head coach. Verge Osbury is in there as the athletic director. Brian Kelly and Scott Woodward are out. Scott Woodward and Brian Kelly, the combination of those two, number one, it seems like they didn't really gel well. But number two, we just weren't bringing in the talent in. There were problems organizationally. We would have coordinator issues. We had the defensive coordinator problem with Matt House, where it was a struggle to be able to get through that season with Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman. And then Blake Baker comes in and he fields a great defense, and we got Joe Sloan just seemingly ruining the offense. That's my opinion. That's everything that I had seen over the last couple of years. Now we've got Lane Kiffin in there. His win total over the last 3 years with Ole Miss is 34, which is significantly higher than 26. And that ties him at 5th with Notre Dame over the last 3 years. Now, the difference between Ole Miss and Notre Dame is Ole Miss is actually playing an SEC football schedule. You may hem and haw at that. The SEC football schedule is harder than Notre Dame's football schedule. Fight me on it. It's just how it is. Kiffin has a bunch of money behind him now. We see the $40 million roster. We see that they were willing to buy out Brian Kelly's contract. We see that they were willing to pay Lane Kiffin a lot of money to get him in here. Now he's just got to put it together as well. He's been recruiting well. He's been portaling well. He needs to take the next step and put together a team that's going to make a deep playoff run. He did it last year. He just wasn't there for the playoff run. So I know that he can do it. I think we all know that he can do it. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football right now. And he just needs to put it together. And if he can do it year one, even better. LSU shoots their way up this list a little bit farther. If he can't put it together year one, people are going to have excuses. I don't think LSU fans are going to be too upset about it. They'll be slightly upset about it. But years 2 and 3 are going to be prove-it years if this year, with a $40 million roster, he doesn't get it done. At number 6, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame has won 34 games over the last 3 years. Again, that ties them at 5th with Ole Miss. Marcus Freeman is just rolling over these last 3 years. I was dumb enough 3 years ago when LSU got Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman was promoted to head coach to believe that Notre Dame, their time had passed, their time had gone. They were no longer going to be in the running to win a national championship, compete for a national championship, get into those top 5, 6, maybe 8 seeds of the college football playoffs. Obviously, they're going to have the easier schedules, but they're just not going to put the talent on the field. Well, Marcus Freeman's making me eat my words, because he's putting the talent on the field and he's getting great recruiting classes together, and he's got a team that's playing well together, specifically towards the end of the year. Beginning of the year last year, we know that they were 0-2 to start the year, but those are their 2 hardest games that they had to play early. Now, after that 0-2 start, they essentially rolled throughout the rest of the year, were left out of the playoffs. That was a whole big conversation. Now it's a year where Notre Dame can come in and have a slightly more difficult schedule, prove themselves, make a playoff, and make a deep run in that playoff. As an organization, though, I think Notre Dame is aligned. They're spending the money. They're giving Marcus Freeman his freedom to do what he needs to do, and they're putting a great program and a great team on the field every Saturday. One thing that they need to do is they need to play up to their elite competition. Again, last year, it was early in the season that they didn't play up to the elite competition. CJ Carr, it's his first time starting. So again, just like we talked about with Arch Manning, that is respectable. And it was a respectable performance that he had put on in those first couple of games. He needs to take the next step, and if he does that, I think that they could have a really, really solid season, 1 at most 2 losses. If he doesn't put it together and they're still kind of just a different version of the same team last year, I could see them losing more games, and we're having a different conversation around Notre Dame at the end of this coming year. At number 5, we've got Miami. Miami, in the last 3 years, has won 28 games. They're tied 13th with Indiana, of all teams. Miami, a lot of this just fields on or is just based on the talent roster that they are starting to field there every single year and how angry and how physically they're playing football. They may not be winning the most games over the last 3 years. They may not have the highest win total, but they're putting a physical football team out on the field. Cristobal is just doing a good job of getting a nastiness and a hard-nosedness back into that team, and specifically into the guys in the trenches, the offensive and the defensive line. They're playing physical. They're playing mean. They're pushing guys off the ball. And if they can do that consistently year after year, and they can put that on the field again this year and have that offensive line who they're trying to retool get onto the field and start pushing guys around week after week after week and into the final games of the season in the playoffs, they're going to be competing for another national championship. I think Darian Mensah's a really, really good quarterback. They're going to have weapons with Malachi Toney. They're going to have their weapons on defense. So Cristobal's putting together a really great program. If the question is, can they peak at the right time again like they were doing last year to make a run? Because if so, I think they were a quarterback away last year from potentially winning that national championship game, and I think Mensah's going to be a better quarterback than Carson Beck was. Just that's my thought there. At number 4, we have Indiana. Indiana tied with Miami, 28 wins over the last 3 seasons. That puts them, again, at 13th overall, tied. Curt Cignetti's only been there for 2 years, though. And the year before that, so the third year, they won 3 games. So Cignetti's got 25 of those 28 wins in the last 3 years. If we average it out, Indiana's going to be near the top of wins over the last 3 years, if not potentially at the top for wins over the last 3 years with Cignetti there. If Cignetti keeps his fire, if he keeps this flame going, that to compare it, 2019 LSU, Coach Ed Orgeron wins the national championship, and after that, it seems like he just took his foot completely off the gas pedal. If Curt Cignetti does not take his foot off the gas pedal, and he still has a desire and a drive and a hunger to go and win more championships, which it seems like he does with the way that he's leading this team, the way that he's attacked the transfer portal and built this program out for another year, Indiana's going to be a fun team to watch for a long, long time. I don't think he's going anywhere, and all he's doing is fielding great teams every single Saturday. Teams that are going to hit you in the mouth, and teams that are going to also outsmart you a little bit on their play. It's going to be really hard to play defense against that offense. They run a lot of RPO, and so he's got smart quarterbacks that he keeps bringing in that have a lot of RPO experience, and he's doing a great job with it. So Indiana's at number 4, and if they go and they run back-to-back this year, which I think is going to be very difficult to do but not impossible, they might finish the season at number 1, number 2, right around there. At number 3, we've got Oregon. Oregon, over the last 3 years, has won 38 games. That puts them at number 1 overall in the last 3 years in their win total. The real thing that's holding them back is they have not been able to play up to their competition in those high-end games. The main issue for Oregon, though, is that they just keep running into the national champions every single year, whether it be in the playoffs, whether it be in championship games. They keep running into the eventual national champions, and they just can't beat them. Ohio State 2 years ago, Indiana last year. If they can surpass beyond them, and they can really compete and fight and win and claw through those games, there's a really good chance that they shoot up this board. I think Dan Lanning is an elite coach. He has been bringing elite talent in there. He's been fielding them well. He's got Dante Moore coming back for his senior year. He's going to be able to throw to DeCorian Moore. He's going to be able to throw to Evan Stewart. He's got great teams that he's fielding. All that we have to do now is put it all together, peak at the right time at the end of the year, beat the eventual national champion who the past 3 years has been in the Big Ten, and we're there, and we shoot up this list. But right now, I'm going to keep Oregon at 3 until proven otherwise. At number 2, we've got Georgia. I'm keeping them high because I believe in Kirby Smart, not because they've proven it on the field the last couple of years. Granted, they've still consistently pushed deep into the playoffs. Like, they are a good program, semi-deep into the playoffs. They're a good program. Kirby Smart's always going to have a great team out there. I think, I keep saying I think, but I do think that Kirby Smart is going into this year with a bit of a quiet confidence. I think the last couple of years he's had a team that he knew were really good players, but he's not going to have his monster teams like he did back in the late 20 teens, early 2020s. Now with NIL and the transfer portal and all that, he's not going to have 2 and 3 deeps that can go and compete with the best teams in the country. He's got to field 22 players and keep them healthy and pray that if somebody gets injured, that the backup behind them is still going to be able to plug in well, but he doesn't have the roster depth that he once did. I think he's coming into this year with a quiet confidence, though. I think they're being overlooked. Gunnar Stockton coming in with another year of starting experience. He's been good. Can he take that next step, be beyond good, beyond serviceable, and put on some elite performances and win them football games single-handedly? Because if he can do that, their defense is going to be awesome. Their defense is always awesome. But you're going to have to win games in multiple ways to compete in this league. If you want to compete and win a national championship, you're going to have to win games with your defense. You're going to have to win games with your quarterback and your offense. And sometimes you're going to have to win games in special teams. All 3 phases need to be great. Can Kirby put that together this year? I think he can try to figure it out. He's got Gunnar Stockton coming back. So we'll see what that looks like. He's got no short of talent there. The state of Georgia has no shortage of talent, and he's never going to have a lack of talent at Georgia. And finally, at number 1, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes, who over the last 3 years have won 37 college football games. That puts them in second place over the last 3 years. Ryan Day just keeps bringing in and backfilling on coordinators that have been in the NFL, and those coordinators are able to teach these college kids how to play their positions and their schemes seemingly very easily, because they're coming right in, and in week 1, week 2, week 3, they got it. There's not a big learning curve or a steep learning curve for a lot of these players. So he's got the talent, he's got NFL coordinators, and they're wicked consistent. 1 or 2 games a year, they're up and down. The one thing that I want to see them do is put a full season together where they're playing, especially at the end of the year, just their best football consistently. I think back to a couple of years ago when they did win the national championship in the 2024 season, they ended up losing to Michigan in the last week of the year, and that's just unacceptable on the Ohio State side. If you're a fan or an alumni of that school, we don't lose to Michigan. I don't care if we won the national championship. Obviously, you'll take a win in the national championship. But we don't lose to Michigan in that year, especially when they were so much more talented and so much better than them. So putting it together for an extended time, I think Ryan Day can do that. They need to be a little bit more consistent, but I don't think there's any way that you keep them out of the number 1 spot right now. They're the most recent powerhouse program that has won a national championship. And again, if Indiana can do it again this year, they may jump to this number 1 spot because Cignetti's turning them into a powerhouse. But that concludes my top 10 programs right now going into the 2026 season. Who did I miss? Who would you want to see in the top 10 program list? Who would you replace and take out from my list to put yours in? Let me know in the comments.